The wind on planet Zerna was like a sharp blade. It cut through thick suits and heavy metal. The cold was not like Earth's cold. It was alive, like a hungry beast trying to enter every crack in the skin. Tomil, a young human explorer, stood outside the research station with his eyes narrowed. His suit hummed with heat, but he still felt the deep chill. He looked up at the gray sky. Snowflakes fell slowly, but the wind made them fly like tiny darts. Next to him stood Zeri, a tall alien warrior from the planet's native race, the Valari. She had silver-blue skin, long white hair tied behind her head, and pale purple eyes that never showed warmth. She didn't speak unless she had to. Tomil had been paired with her for a crystal mapping mission in the ice caves of Varnock Depths. The crystals were special. They held energy, like batteries made by nature. Earth scientists believed they could help power cities back home. But the Valari didn't trust humans. And Zeri? She hated working with Tomil. She had told him once, "I do not trust humans. You make noise. You touch without thinking. You bring danger." And then she walked away. Today they were traveling into the frozen cave system, deep in the hills near the station. The path was slippery, the air thin. Zeri walked ahead, silent and fast, like a shadow on ice. Tomil followed, careful but curious. He wanted to understand her kind, maybe even prove they could be friends. Inside the cave, walls of blue crystal shone dimly. The temperature dropped even more. Tomil checked his reader. -60, he whispered. Zeri heard him. "Then move faster, human, or freeze where you stand." He didn't answer. He only smiled a little behind his helmet. He had grown used to her sharp words, but deep down he wanted to change her mind. They moved for 2 hours, deeper and deeper, into the cave. They reached a large chamber where the ceilings sparkled like stars. Tomil knelt and scanned the floor. "These are the strongest readings yet," he said. "The crystal veins are thick here." Zeri didn't answer. She stood, still listening. Then she said, "Storm is coming." Tomil looked up. "You're sure?" Zeri nodded. "Feel the air. It's heavy. We must return. Now." But before they could move, a loud roar shook the cave. Snow and ice poured down behind them. The entrance was sealed. They were trapped. Tomil ran to the wall. "No signal," he said. "I can't call the station." Zeri didn't panic, but her face grew tight. "We wait. Storms do not last forever." They found a small alcove in the cave and set up a thin emergency shelter. It was made of heat fabric and metal poles. Inside, they had 1 heater, 1 light, and 2 packs of food. Enough for 1 day, maybe 2. Hours passed. The storm raged outside. Wind howled like a wild animal. The cold crept in slowly, pressing on their bones. Tomil sat close to the heater, rubbing his hands. "This heater isn't enough," he said. Zeri was sitting on the other side, arms crossed. Her body shook slightly, but she tried to hide it. "You okay?" Tomil asked. "I am fine," she said quickly. But she wasn't. Her skin was losing color. Her eyes blinked slower. Tomil stood and pulled out his thermal blanket. "Here," he said. "It's not much, but it helps." Zeri looked at it like it was poison. "I do not need human pity." "It's not pity," Tomil said. "It's survival." She turned her head. "This is shameful. A Valari should not accept warmth from a human." Tomil sat down again. "So you'd rather freeze?" Zeri didn't reply. She closed her eyes, arms still tight around herself. Minutes passed. The heater beeped low. It was losing power. Then, in a low voice, Zeri said, "Our bodies share heat, but only by close contact. It is not done with humans. It is forbidden." Tomil raised an eyebrow. "Well, I won't tell if you won't." She looked at him. For the first time, her face didn't show anger. It showed fear. And something else, something like hesitation. The heater shut off. Zeri shivered hard. Her fingers were turning pale blue. She stood up, eyes locked on Tamil, and spoke with a hard, sharp voice. "We're freezing, human! Get in my bed, now!" Tamil blinked. "What?" Zeri pointed to the shelter floor. "The blanket, the heat fabric. That is the bed. We lie close. Or we die." Tamil didn't argue. He laid down, pulling the blanket over himself. Zeri followed, stiff and silent. Her body was cold as stone. They didn't speak. The warmth was slow, but it came. Little by little, the cold stepped back. Tamil could feel her heartbeat, slow and steady. He didn't move. He didn't say anything. In the silence, Zeri whispered, "If you tell anyone, I will deny it." Tamil smiled. "I know." The cave was dark except for the soft blue glow of the crystal walls. The storm outside had not stopped. The entrance was still blocked by snow and rock. Inside the thin shelter, Tamil and Zeri lay side by side, covered by the single thermal blanket. It was silent for a long time. Tamil stared at the soft light above. He could feel Zeri's cold body slowly warming beside his own. Her breathing was calm now, but she hadn't said a word since they lay down. He knew she didn't like this. Not the warmth, not the closeness, not him. But there was no other choice. Outside, the storm howled louder. Sharp winds screamed through cracks in the rock. Snow fell endlessly, trapping them further with each passing hour. Tamil turned his head slightly. "Zeri?" She didn't answer. He tried again. "Are you okay now?" Her voice was quiet. "Better than before." He waited, then said, "This storm might last longer than we thought." "I know," she replied. They fell into silence again. Tamil shifted a little under the blanket. The cold floor pressed against his back, and the small heater had gone completely silent now. It had no power left. Only their shared body heat kept them alive. "I never thought I'd end up like this," Tamil said with a small smile. "Sharing a bed with a Valari warrior who hates me." Zeri narrowed her eyes. "I do not hate you." Tamil blinked. "What?" She turned her head. "I disliked humans, not just you." He looked at her, surprised. "Why?" Zeri's eyes stared at the cave wall. Her voice became low and cold. 5 years ago, my brother served in the first contact team. He went to meet humans from Earth. He never returned. There was an accident, a blast. Humans said it was a mistake, but he died. Tamil's smile faded. "I'm sorry." Zeri nodded slowly. "He was strong, brave. He believed in peace. I did not." Tamil wanted to say more, but didn't know what. He had heard of the early missions between Earth and Zerna. Some had gone well, others had ended badly. Accidents, misunderstandings, and fear had caused deep wounds. They lay in silence for a while, then Zeri spoke again. "Why are you here, human?" Tamil blinked. "What do you mean?" "You're not a soldier. You're not strong. You are different. Why did they send you?" Tamil smiled a little. "Because I listen." Zeri looked at him. Tamil continued. "Everyone else wanted to take, to mine the crystals, to win. But I wanted to understand. I wanted to learn why your people live the way you do. Why the crystals matter to you. That's why I came." Zeri didn't reply, but something in her eyes changed. The cold look in them softened, just a little. Another hour passed. Suddenly the ground trembled slightly. A soft rumble came from deep below. Tamil sat up. "Did you feel that?" Zeri sat up too. "It's a cave shift, snow pressure. The deeper we stay, the more risk." Tamil looked around. "We can't stay here." We cannot leave either, she replied. The entrance is buried. Tomil grabbed his scanner and moved to the rock wall near the entrance. He pressed a few buttons. Signal is still dead. The rock is too thick. We're cut off. Zeri stood beside him, arms crossed. Then we dig. Tomil looked at her. With what? We don't have tools. Zeri reached into her pack and pulled out a small silver device. It unfolded into a short energy blade. Tomil smiled. You came prepared. Zeri gave a rare smirk. Always. Together, they began chipping at the rock pile. Tomil used a metal rod from the shelter. Zeri's blade cut through ice, but the process was slow. The cold air made their hands stiff, and frost crept back onto their suits. After 2 hours, they cleared only a small hole. Not enough. Zeri dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Too slow. Tomil sat beside her, exhausted. We need another plan. He looked at the crystal walls. An idea formed in his mind. What if we follow the crystal? Path? He asked. They run deep through the caves. Maybe they lead to another exit. Zeri hesitated. Dangerous. Old tunnels. Some may be collapsed. Better than freezing here. She looked at him, then nodded. We try. They packed quickly, wrapped the heater core, and followed the crystal veins deeper into the cave system. Their small lights lit the narrow paths. The air grew colder, but they kept moving. After 30 minutes, they found a wider tunnel. It sloped gently upward. Tomil checked the scanner. This way leads out. Zeri stepped forward, but suddenly, the ground beneath her cracked. A chunk of ice broke loose, and she fell. Zeri! Tomil shouted. He dropped to the floor and reached down. She had landed on a ledge below, holding her arm. I'm okay, she called, but her voice was strained. Tomil found a rope in his bag. He tied it to a crystal and lowered himself down. He landed next to her. Her face was tight with pain. My arm may be broken. Tomil looked around. The tunnel ahead was too narrow to carry her through on his back. We need to rest here, he said. Then I'll help you climb. Zeri looked at him. Why do you care, human? Tomil gave a small smile. Because we're not enemies anymore. At least, I hope not. She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. They sat together once more, huddled for warmth. The tunnel above them was dark, but ahead the crystals still glowed softly. Tomil gently wrapped a bandage around Zeri's arm. Her face was calm, but he could tell she was in pain. Her other hand gripped a crystal tightly, her fingers turning pale. The small ledge they were sitting on was barely wide enough for the two of them. Above them, the rope still hung from the edge of the tunnel, swinging slightly in the cold air. I've stopped the bleeding, Tomil said. But you shouldn't move that arm much. Zeri gave a slow nod. Thank you. Tomil sat down beside her. The cave was quiet now. The storm outside had become only a distant rumble. The sound of their breathing filled the silence. For the first time, Tomil didn't feel like she hated him anymore. He looked at her and said, You saved me from the snow earlier. I'm just returning the favor. Zeri looked away. You are. Not like the others. Tomil smiled. I get that a lot. They stayed close for warmth, sharing the last bit of heat from the power cell. The crystals around them gave off a soft, steady glow. It made the cave look peaceful, even beautiful. I used to think all Valari were cold and serious, Tomil said. Zeri raised an eyebrow. We are serious. But not cold, he said. Not in here. He tapped his chest. Zeri's eyes met his. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she said quietly, My brother was the only one who listened to me. He told me stories of Earth. He said humans had fire in their hearts. I didn't believe him. Tomil leaned back. Maybe he was right. Zeri looked at the floor. I didn't want to believe him because I was afraid. I didn't want to trust your kind and be hurt again. Tomil didn't push her. He understood what pain could do to someone. It's okay, he said. I'm not here to change your mind. I just want to get us out of this cave. Zeri gave a small smile. It was quick, almost hidden, but it was there. After resting, Tomil helped her to her feet. He supported her with one arm and she leaned slightly on him. Together, they moved carefully through the narrow tunnel ahead. The path was uneven, but the crystals helped light their way. After some time, they reached a split, 2 tunnels leading in different directions. Tomil scanned the area. The left path goes deeper, he said. But it looks clear, Zeri said. Go right. I feel wind from that way. Tomil trusted her instinct. They took the right path. It was tighter, colder, and rougher. Zeri winced with each step, but didn't stop. Tomil stayed close, steadying her when she slipped. After about an hour, the tunnel opened into a wider chamber. A small hole in the ceiling let in fresh air and a faint ray of light. We're close to the surface, Tomil said, excited. Zeri nodded. But we cannot climb that. The hole was high and the walls were smooth ice. Tomil looked around. Maybe we can signal the base from here. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small beacon. He turned it on, but the light stayed red. No signal, he muttered. Still blocked. Then he had an idea. The crystals, he said. They carry energy. Maybe we can use them to boost the beacon's signal. Zeri looked at him. That is dangerous. The wrong touch can cause a blast. Tomil stepped forward. I'll be careful. If it works, they'll find us faster. She didn't stop him. Tomil knelt near the largest crystal in the room. He removed the beacon's power line and connected it to a thin branch of the glowing crystal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a bright pulse of blue light shot through the crystal veins. The beacon lit up green. Zeri shielded her eyes. It worked, Tomil smiled. Now we wait. They sat down again, this time beside each other, not apart. Zeri's body leaned lightly against his. Her injured arm rested across her lap. You risked a lot, she said. I wanted to help, Tomil replied. Zeri stared ahead. When we return, others may not understand this. Tomil nodded. I know, but I don't care what they think. We survived. That matters more. Zeri looked at him, her voice soft. You are not weak, not loud, not careless. You are different. Tomil laughed quietly. Thanks, I think. Then they heard a faint sound. A low hum. Tomil stood quickly. That's a rescue drone! He waved his arms and turned on his emergency light. A small flying drone entered the hole above and hovered, scanning the room. Zeri stood beside him. The drone spoke in a soft voice. Human life signs detected. Valari life signs detected. Rescue in progress. A few minutes later, ropes were lowered. Rescue teams, both human and Valari, worked together to bring them up. When Tomil helped, lift Zeri first, she looked down at him. You stayed true, she said, even when you had no reason to. Tomil smiled. I just wanted you to see we're not all bad. When he was pulled up, Zeri was waiting. The snow had stopped. The sky above was still gray, but the wind had calmed. The two of them stood together as the team gathered around. People asked questions, but Zeri said nothing. She only looked at Tomil and nodded. They were no longer strangers, no longer enemies. The ice between them had begun to break. The rescue team brought Tomil and Zeri back to the base camp, where both humans and Valari worked together. The camp was made of white metal domes, with small energy lights glowing through the snow. Tomil was given a medical check and warm food. His fingers were still cold, and his back ached from sleeping on the cave floor. But he felt okay. Zeri's arm was wrapped tightly. A Valari healer treated her carefully. She didn't say much but gave short answers when needed. Her face looked calm again, cold, strong, and silent. But when her eyes met Tomel's, something was different now. A small nod, a glance that lasted a little longer. Not hate, not anger, something close to respect. Later that evening, the storm had fully passed. The night sky above Zerna was clear. 3 moons floated high, casting a silver light on the camp. Most of the base was asleep or resting. Tomil sat near a small heater outside the main dome. He held a metal cup of warm tea in his hands, blowing gently on the surface. The air was still cold, but he didn't mind. He was thinking about the cave. The silence. The moment when Zeri let him in. Not just into the bed, but into her trust. Footsteps crunched behind him. He turned. It was Zeri. She walked slowly, her injured arm still in a sling, and sat down across from him without saying a word. The heater between them gave off a soft hum. Tomel smiled a little. Couldn't sleep? Zeri shook her head. Too quiet, Tomil nodded. I know what you mean. A moment passed. Zeri stared at the sky. I haven't looked up like this in a long time. We train so much, fight so much. We forget to look. Tomil looked up too. Earth only has 1 moon. This feels like a dream. Zeri's voice was softer than before. When I was small, I thought the moons were gods. I used to think they watched over us. Tomil leaned forward. That sounds beautiful. Did your brother believe that too? She hesitated, then nodded. Yes. He would sit with me outside our home and tell stories. He said the moons whispered secrets to those who listened. Tomil smiled. Did they whisper to you? Zeri looked into the firelight. Not then. But maybe now. She was quiet for a while. Then she asked, What about you? What did you believe when you were young? Tomil chuckled. I believed I could fly. Fly? He nodded. I'd jump off couches, beds, anything tall. I told my parents I was building wings. I even taped paper to my arms once. Zeri raised an eyebrow. Did it work? He laughed. No, I broke a lamp. Zeri gave a small laugh, light, almost like a breath. It was the first time Tomil had heard her laugh. It made him smile more. You are strange, human, she said. Tomil grinned. Takes one to know one. Zeri stared at the heater, her expression more serious now. Do you think they will believe us? She asked. That we worked together? That we didn't fight? Tomil looked down. Some might not. Some want to hold on to hate. Zeri nodded. My people may say I was weak. That I depended on you. They will ask questions. So will mine, Tomil said. But I'll tell the truth. Zeri met his eyes. So will I. The heater crackled softly. Around them, the snow sparkled under the moonlight. Tomil leaned back, resting on his elbows. You know, I think what happened in that cave changed more than just the mission. Zeri nodded slowly. Yes, I think it changed me. He looked at her. How? I don't know yet, she said. But before, I saw you as an enemy. Now, I see you as someone who listens, someone who doesn't push, someone I can sit with in silence. Tomil's voice lowered. And that means something? She nodded. To us, it means a lot. They sat there for a long time, just watching the sky. Then Zeri said, Tell me more stories. Tomil blinked. What kind of stories? Human ones. Of your world. Of how you live. What you eat. What makes you laugh. He smiled. All right. Once, when I was a kid, I tried to cook my own birthday cake. And he began to speak. Simple stories. Funny ones. Some a little sad. Zeri listened, eyes wide with interest. She didn't laugh much, but her face showed she was imagining every word. When Tomel finished a story about his sister painting the family dog, Zeri said, "Your life is loud and full. Ours is quiet and serious. But I think we are missing something." Tomil leaned forward. "Maybe we're both missing something. Maybe we fill the pieces in each other." Zeri looked at him. The heater's light flickered gently between them. Then she said, "You are not like the human I expected. You are better." Tomil's voice was calm. "And you're not the warrior I feared. You're more." They sat side by side, not touching, not needing to. The space between them was no longer filled with cold silence. It was filled with trust. Above them, the moons moved slowly, shining down on two souls who were no longer strangers, no longer enemies, just two people from different worlds, learning to understand. The next morning on Zerna was calm. The wind had stopped. The snow had settled like a quiet white blanket over the land. Inside the main dome, Tomil woke early. He stretched, yawned, and walked over to the window. Outside, the light from the sky was soft and silver. Zeri stood near the edge of the training field, her arm still in a sling. She was staring at the distant mountains. Tomil put on his warm jacket and stepped outside. As he walked toward her, the snow crunched under his boots. The cold was sharp, but not as dangerous as before. Zeri turned her head slightly. "You walk loud." Tomil smiled. "You always say that." She didn't smile back, but her eyes held a softer look. "I was thinking," she said, "about the other cave tunnels." Tomil stood beside her. "What about them?" "There may be more crystal paths below the surface, ones even our people haven't mapped yet." Tomil raised an eyebrow. "You want to go back down there?" Zeri nodded. "We didn't finish the mission." Tomil laughed. "You fell down a hole and nearly froze." "You nearly froze with me," she replied. He smiled. "True." Zeri looked serious again. "If we return and find something useful, maybe it will help both our sides trust each other more." Tomil thought for a moment. Then he said, "Okay, let's do it. One more trip." They spoke to the base leaders, Captain Darren from Earth's team and Elder Velen from the Valerie. Both were surprised but gave permission. A small team of 2 would travel light with stronger gear, better scanners and safety lines. By afternoon, Tomil and Zeri were ready. They wore new heat suits, carried signal boosters, and packed extra supplies. The weather was clear, and they had a short window before the next snow cycle. As they entered the crystal caves once more, the light from their lamps reflected off the smooth walls. Tomil felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. Zeri walked ahead, careful and quiet. They reached the chamber where they were once trapped. The rescue hole was now sealed, but the path they had taken before still waited. Zeri pointed. "This time we go deeper." They moved slowly, watching each step. The new tunnels were colder, tighter, and darker, but the crystal veins were thicker. Some pulsed faintly like they were alive. Tomil scanned one of them. "The energy levels are stronger here, much stronger." Zeri touched the wall. "These crystals, they are not just power, they store memory." Tomil looked at her. "Memory?" She nodded. "Old Valari believe crystals can hold the thoughts of the planet, emotions, echoes of the past." "That's beautiful," Tomil said softly. They kept walking. After an hour, they found a large open chamber. In the center stood a giant tree-like crystal, glowing from the inside. It spread wide branches into the stone walls, touching every part of the cave. Tomil stepped forward, amazed. "I've never seen anything like this." Zeri's voice was low. "Neither have I." They circled the crystal slowly. It hummed with quiet energy. Tomil scanned it and saw a sudden burst of green on his screen. "This crystal? It's alive, he whispered. It's not just a rock. It's a living energy structure. Zeri touched its surface gently. Her eyes closed. I can feel it. Warm. Like a heartbeat. Tamil took a deep breath. If Earth learns about this, they'll want to take it. Zeri opened her eyes. That's why we must protect it. He nodded. We'll tell both sides. Carefully. Suddenly, the ground shook slightly. A soft cracking sound echoed from behind. Tomil turned. What was that? Zeri stepped back quickly. Tunnel collapse! A large piece of ice crashed down near the entrance they had come from. Snow poured in like a wave. The path was sealed again. Tomil ran to the side tunnel and checked the map. There's another way out, but we have to climb up through the old vent shaft. Zeri's eyes narrowed. That shaft is tight and dangerous. It's our only chance. They rushed to the shaft. It was narrow but steep enough to climb using ropes. Tomil went first, securing the lines. Zeri followed slowly, her arms still in pain. Halfway up, the ice cracked again. Tomil shouted down, "Hurry!" Zeri's foot slipped. She lost grip with one hand. Tomil looked down and saw her hanging. "Hold on!" Zeri gritted her teeth. "Pull!" Tomil wrapped the rope around his shoulder and pulled hard. His hands burned, his muscles screamed. Zeri climbed slowly, using her legs more than her arms. Finally, she reached the top. They both collapsed, breathing heavily. "Are you okay?" Tomil asked. Zeri nodded, wiping snow from her face. "You pulled me up. Couldn't let you fall again," he said. They stood and looked around. The vent opened near the side of a frozen hill. The base was far but visible in the distance. Tomil turned on his signal. It's weak, but enough. They walked together through the snow, helping each other when one slipped. The moons began to rise again. Stars filled the sky. Back at the base, a group of humans and Valari waited. As Tomil and Zeri entered the camp, everyone stared. Captain Duren stepped forward. "Did you find anything?" Tomil looked at Zeri. She nodded slightly. He said, "Yes, we found something powerful. But more than that, we found proof we can trust each other." Elder Velen looked at Zeri. "And you agree?" Zeri stood tall. "This human saved me again. I chose to work with him, not because I had to, but because I wanted to." The camp was quiet for a moment, then the elder nodded. "Then the time has come to listen." As everyone returned to the dome, Tomil and Zeri stood outside for a moment. "You know," he said, "next time we go underground, I'm bringing a full tent." Zeri smirked. "And I'll bring 2 blankets." They laughed, soft, real, and warm. The days after their return to the base were filled with quiet change. The storm had passed, but the cold still clung to the air. Inside the white domes, humans and Valari worked side by side more than ever before. The discovery of the living. Crystal had given new hope. Tomil and Zeri were assigned to a new mission together. This time the goal was clear. Use the energy from the crystals to warm the small Valari cities and improve life on Zerna. Zeri no longer treated Tomil like an enemy. She didn't complain or distance herself. Instead, she watched him carefully and listened. One morning, before the sun rose, Tomil found Zeri practicing with her weapon outside the dome. She moved with sharp, clean precision. Her face was serious, but calm. "Good morning," Tomil said quietly. Zeri stopped and turned. "You're early." "I like to see the sunrise. It reminds me of home." Zeri nodded slowly. "I never watch the sunrise. I am awake before the sky changes." Tomil smiled. "Maybe you should try it." She looked at the sky, which was still dark except for a faint glow on the horizon. They walked to the main lab together. Scientists and engineers were busy preparing the new crystal energy devices. Tomil saw a small group of Valari watching him. Some whispered quietly. One Valari woman stepped forward. Why does Zeri spend so much time with a human? She was once proud and distant. Now she listens. Tomil smiled softly. We're learning. She has good reasons to be careful. The woman looked at Zeri, who didn't answer. Later, Tomil and Zeri were alone in the testing room. The crystal energy device hummed softly on the table. This device will take the energy from the living crystal and turn it into heat for homes, Tomil explained. Zeri studied the device. It is small but powerful. Tomil nodded. We will need to place these in the cities. It will change life here. Zeri looked at Tomil. I will go with you, to help. He was surprised. You will? She smiled faintly. You saved me in the cave. I owe you. And I want to help our people trust humans more. Tomil's heart beat faster. I'm glad you feel that way. The next day, they traveled to the nearest Valari city, a place called Vesra. The city was built into the icy mountains with buildings made from stone and crystal. It was quiet and beautiful. People watched as Tomil and Zeri arrived with the new device. Some were curious, others were suspicious. An elder approached. Zeri, why? Bring a human here? She stepped forward. Because we need to learn to work together. This device will help warm our homes and save lives. The elder looked at Tomil. Do you understand Valari ways? Tomil bowed his head slightly. I do my best. I want to learn more. The elder nodded slowly. Then we will listen. Tomil and Zeri worked together to set up the crystal energy device. They explained how it worked. Children gathered around, wide-eyed. At one point, a young Valari boy touched Tomil's hand and smiled. Tomil smiled back. Zeri watched quietly, her arms crossed, but her eyes soft. That evening, Tomil and Zeri sat by a fire outside the city. Do you think we will succeed? Tomil asked. Zeri looked at the stars. I do not know, but I believe we can. Tomil nodded. We will have to be patient. She turned to him. Humans have many strengths. One is hope. Tomil smiled. And Valari have strength too. Together we are stronger. They sat in silence, sharing warmth from the fire and from each other's presence. The cold night was no longer so lonely. The cold wind blew gently over the frozen hills of Zerna. The moons shone bright in the night sky. Below, the Valari city of Vesra glowed softly with warm lights from the new crystal energy devices. For the first time in a long time, warmth filled the homes and hearts of the Valari. Tomil and Zeri stood together on a hill overlooking the city. The silence between them was comfortable. No anger, no hate, only respect and trust. Look how far we have come, Tomil said softly. Zeri nodded. Not just the city, but us. Tomil smiled. I never thought I'd say this, but I am glad we got trapped in that cave. She looked at him and gave a small smile. It changed everything. The two of them remembered the cold, dark cave, the fear, the silence, the warmth they shared under one blanket. That night had broken the ice between their worlds. The leaders from Earth and the Valari had agreed to continue working together. Plans were made to share crystal energy technology across both planets. The mission was no longer just about survival, it was about friendship. One evening at the base camp, the humans and Valari gathered for a celebration. Music from both worlds filled the air. The Valari played strange but beautiful instruments, and humans sang songs from Earth. Tomil watched as Zeri spoke with the Valari elders. Her usual quiet strength was now mixed with laughter and warmth. Later, Zeri found Tomil and said, You should join us. He smiled. I would like that. They stood side by side under the stars, surrounded by new friends. Tomil thought about his home on Earth. He missed his family, the green forests, the warm sun. But here, on this cold world, he had found something new, a new family. Zeri looked at him. "What will you do when you return home?" Tommel shrugged. "Tell stories. Tell people that aliens are not enemies, that we can learn from each other." Zeri smiled. "I will do the same. Tell them that humans are not just noise and danger, that they have fire in their hearts." Tommel took a deep breath. "I think we have more to teach each other." Zeri nodded. "Yes, and the bond we share will grow stronger." As the celebration continued, Tomil and Zeri stood quietly together. The cold night felt warm. The moons watched over them, silent and wise. Two worlds, once strangers, were now connected by trust, hope, and a bond that could change the future forever.